I'm not happy about the subject that I'm about to tackle. There's some things about it that make me happy, some things about it that does not. Skip Bayless has a show on FS1. It is called Undisputed. He's inserted a new lineup. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, is scheduled to join him. They are not just friends. They are my brothers. I wanted them with me.
Do you have good news for me? You're smiling.
I have great news for you. We're in business together, bro. I've decided to bring Club Shay Shay over and partner with you, but I felt the volume was the best place for me.
I feel like I landed Peyton Manning in Denver.
I honestly didn't know I had an announcement to make until literally 60 seconds ago. Okay. It's all about not standing still and taking it to another level. And official this morning, Mr. Shannon Sharpe will be joining the crew. He will be joining First Take. It is official. Shannon Sharpe is coming to First Take. He will debut Monday, September 4th.
For a long time, mainstream sports media was dull and repetitive. And while those days might soon return, the current instability of the sports media landscape adds a brand new entry. It's kind of a breath of fresh air. The competition between the main two networks has been brought to the forefront as Stephan A and Skip Bayless compete for ratings, views, and co-hosts. Ironically, after bashing LeBron for all of these years, Skip is trying to form his own super team to take out Stephan A. Reports that Michael Irvin, Richard Sherman, and Keyshaun Johnson joining Skip is a twist that might be crazy enough to work. I pointed out in the previous video that Skip kinda has a type: intelligent, outspoken, hyper-confident black dudes. As I pointed out then, I do not see this as a bad thing. I don't think it's a conspiracy or no crazy stuff like that. It's just an observation, and I do think it's on point because everybody in the new lineup does fit that exact criteria. All this really says to me is that after losing his superstar teammate to a division opponent, Skip did what any respectable rebuilding team would do. Dude went into free agency looking to spend big. He looked at his formula that's always worked for him, and he said, you know what? It's time to supercharge that shit. Give me Sherm, Keyshaun, and give me the playmaker. Fire the offensive coordinator and bring in a new scheme. According to John Alren of the Sports Business Journal, the old school embrace debate format is taking a big shift as the panelists will now agree as much as they disagree, which kind of sounds like a Hail Mary when you first come across it. When you hear that, you probably think about an overcorrection and some boring type yes man content. But I think what they're really trying to say is that the plan is simple: have more actual authentic conversation. When you go to the barbershop and sports come up, everybody in the barbershop don't disagree on everything. Everything's not debatable, and the reach to find a disagreement at times positions one panelist to be forced to be the jackass, especially when you only have two perspectives. With more people on the show, assuming the chemistry is good, even an agreement doesn't seem boring. It turns into more of a discussion, a real conversation. It builds the chemistry of the show, so when they do disagree, for whatever reason, it just hits so much harder. It's like when Fifth said sunny days wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for rain, and joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. It's the same concept. You need some level of balance. When you disagree with everything, you just look like a contrarian, which can be interesting for a while, but it becomes so predictable that it takes all the bite out of the disagreement. I'll be honest, man, I like this. I like this new direction, and I think it has a chance to work, but I can see a couple of paths to failure. For one, I don't think Skip actually plays that well with others, and we haven't seen him in a true group setting since his early days at ESPN. But all these people that he's on with can absolutely hold their own, and that's why it's important that they have a certain gravitas. Because if not, at that debate desk, Skip is gonna bully you. Even if his points are not good, bro, his energy is assertive. I do kind of worry that the Dallas Cowboys talk might be unbearable. You got Michael Irvin and Skip, bro, two diehard Cowboys fans. But even with that being the case, they seem like two of them type of fans that will root for the same team and still disagree on a lot. And I don't watch a ton of Keyshaun Johnson, but I do know he played there. So 3 layers of Cowboys bias might be a little bit much. But I think a change in tone and a change in dynamic makes it less directly comparable to the Skip and Shannon era. Because what I didn't want to see is somebody doing a best Shannon Sharpe impression, so the change in offensive philosophy does make a lot of sense to me. And even though they both now have ensemble casts, I think this change in philosophy can further distinguish Undisputed from First Take. Real quick before we jump in, it's time for a quick word from today's video sponsor, DraftKings. Guess what, bro? College football is back, and with all the conference realignments, star players spread around, we could be looking at one of the most intriguing seasons in years. I'm partnering with DraftKings Sportsbook to bring y'all an offer that you don't want to miss. New customers will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5 on any wager. So download the DraftKings app right now and sign up using my promo code FlemLo. Again, new customers who bet $5 on any wager get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Then if you want to be efficient, you could use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings parlays. Combine multiple bets together for a shot at an even bigger payout, and you playing with house money since you using bonus bets. Now, sports betting is not yet available in your state. You can still join the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. And FYI, they got daily fantasy options that span fully across all sports. So download the DraftKings app now. And for all the new customers who use promo code FlemLo, bet just $5 on any wager and get that instant $200 in bonus bets. You feel me? That's promo code FlemLo, only at DraftKings. Shout out to DraftKings once again for sponsoring today's video. Without further ado, let's jump back in. And even though they both now have ensemble casts, I think this change in philosophy can further distinguish Undisputed from First Take. First Take, while of course they do agree from time to time, seem to still lean heavily on forcing disagreements. I think that's a big reason Stephan A didn't like Max on the show, who had some crazy takes at times, but he had a more nuanced approach. So with First Take, I think they're staying more true to the original format, forcing disagreements but just doing it with rotating hosts. That way at least you get different viewpoints. Undisputed, assuming all these hosts sign these contracts, seem to be leaning more into the first things first or speak for yourself format. Both also FS1 shows with that same offensive coordinator, and he's now looking to bring a vibe more similar to that over to Undisputed. Does that work with Skip as the main host? I don't know, but people don't like when I say this, but Skip is a talented dude, and there's a good chance that dude can still adjust. Maybe he's too stuck in his ways at this point, maybe his ego is out of control at this point, but I'm willing to give this a chance. I'm so curious to see which way it goes, and I'll be entertained either way, at least for a short period of time, and it's free, so I'll take it. One of the most interesting aspects, and maybe I should have opened with this, but not only does Skip lose one of the best co-hosts he's ever had, but he loses him to his former co-host who he's now in direct competition with. So then Skip doubles back and gets Stephan A's boy, two of his boys that he calls close friends, who are currently looking for a gig. It was announced that Keyshaun Johnson was being released by ESPN, but it appears his exit contract hasn't fully been negotiated. Also, Michael Irvin has been on leave from I think all his media gigs ever since that one situation in the hotel lobby where it really doesn't seem like anything happened. Now, Stephan A spoke on this last night, and here's a couple of clips of what he had to say.
I'm not happy about the subject that I'm about to tackle for a variety of reasons. There's some things about it that make me happy, some things about it that does not. Skip Bayless has a show on FS1. It is called Undisputed. Bayless, my former partner on First Take, the man responsible for having me on First Take, the man who jump-started my career on First Take, the man who has a lot to do with me being in the position that I'm in today. So there's a level of gratitude that I will always have for him. He's inserted a new lineup. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, is scheduled to join him. Keyshaun Johnson is also scheduled to join him. I go back over 20 years with Keyshaun Johnson. Just as long with Michael Irvin. They are not just colleagues. They are not just friends. They are my brothers. Assuming these reports of him going back to FS1 are true, which I believe they are, I'm happy for him, ecstatic for him, happy for Skip Bayless, sad for myself because I had that brother on Mondays. But I want the record to show I don't want my brothers unemployed. I don't want them off the air. I wanted them with me, but I'm happy if they landed somewhere else. And that goes for Skip Bayless too. I don't root against Skip.
I just root to be better.
So the friendships are intact and everything seems to be cool, but from a competition standpoint, we're seeing friends become rivals. And the fact that it's happening on both sides of the coin, in my humble opinion, adds another layer of intrigue. Okay, let's talk about something that's a little more surface level, and that's how will Shannon Sharpe fit on First Take? The answer, I think, is simple. This dude has been TV gold since he was playing in the league. He can debate with anybody, have a conversation with anybody, walk in any room, be on any screen. He's just got that gravity to him. Then he's a hard-working cat, and he's gonna be all the way bought in. And now he's joining what's already the #1 show. Might not be your favorite show, it's definitely not my favorite show, but from a rating standpoint, First Take is #1. I've been using this Heatles picture because this is what Shannon tweeted out, but this is really more like a case of KD going to the Warriors. Like I said, First Take was already the most viewed show, and now you take one of the most popular and the most well-liked national sports media analysts and add him to the roster. You got one of the best basketball minds out in the media right now too, plus an array of others that bring their own talents to the table. Today, Stephan A finally made it official, announcing live on First Take that Shannon Sharpe has officially joined the First Take team. He'll be on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I could say something clever, but I'ma just say this: I'll be watching. Seeing all this movement in the game is like pretty exciting. And I'm not the type that's too internet cool to admit that, you know what I'm saying? For me, it's NBA free agency, then NFL free agency, soccer players becoming billionaires, and then probably this. It's crazy how over the years, the people covering our sports with varying levels of substance, but that's neither here nor there, but these dudes have become basically a sport unto themselves. You got the NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS, and now the MSM. Mainstream sports media. When you look at it like that, I guess the intrigue makes sense, because seeing people change teams will never not be a spectacle. But be aware that a spectacle is only going to entertain for so long. Like eventually Aaron Rodgers and the Jets have to take the field. This is not a shot, just a comparison, so you know what I'm saying, hear me out. But what they've done on paper has everybody excited. But will the product live up to the marketing, or will it live up to the hype? I have no idea, and that's the fun part. Now the other major player as far as big time on-air hosts who also have their hands in a lot behind the scenes is Colin Cowherd, who content-wise, I'll say objectively speaking, has been in a bit of a rut lately. We all make mistakes in this space, but he's been making more than usual, including that really disrespectful list that included Dwayne Haskins. Rest in peace to him, by the way. More details have come out, and with everything I read, that story just gets sadder and sadder. I didn't see Cowherd apologize for this, but I really hope he did. And if he hasn't, I kind of really wish he would, because I know this was a mistake, but it's a really terrible one. And when people lose their lives, you got to have a certain tact whenever discussing them. There was no reason to include Dwayne Haskins on that list. So Colin, if you didn't apologize for that one, you definitely should, bro. Now, as a content creator, bro, I made a ton of mistakes. And I'm not even doing this live like he's doing with his show. But I also don't have producers or literally anyone who's fact-checking my stuff. It's literally just me. Point being, there's only one set of eyes that ever sees any of this before it comes straight to you. So I'm not catching every mistake. On a show like that, man, it's hard for me to think somebody wouldn't get fired. Somebody definitely should have caught that and removed his name from that list. With that said, I think most content creators who've been doing this for a while, I'm talking 5, 6, 7+ years, you know what I'm saying? He's been doing it much longer than that, but I've noticed in my 8 years that there's always pockets of time where you kind of fall into a slump. One of the odd ways it happens, bro, is feeling too good. Thinking, I got so much energy, bro, I could take on this side project. Then little by little, your focus on the main thing kind of slips up, and you're no longer cruising through like you've been doing. Content becomes difficult to make, then the mistakes pile up. And your loyal fans understand that you're human and give you grace. But there's also that section of fans who's waiting on that aha moment, waiting on that gotcha moment. Only time they comment is when you mess up. For Cowherd, the main side project seems to be the volume, seems to be doing well, and maybe taking a little focus from the main show. That being said, it's hard to say that it hasn't been worth it, as he's got his own network now and just landed a big fish. That brings us back to Shannon Sharpe, who's been making some power moves. They may not seem as powerful to some people as they kind of seem to me. If I'm judging off half of the captions that I see on social media, a lot of people would rather own 100% of nothing than 40% of everything. And I get the thought process, and sometimes I think it's applicable. And people hate this, but I don't think you can apply one set of logic just flat across the board and always make the best best decision. But nuance is not something that most people even respect. But I think every decision should be made independently. And there's definitely nothing wrong with an effective partnership where your paperwork is clean, where you know exactly what you can and can't do, what you're giving up, what are you retaining, know your business. So I've talked about three main figureheads in the sports media landscape. I call these three figureheads because they all have their own show that they are the star of and control who comes on and off. And those shows have been mainstays for years and years at this point. Again, that's not emotional. That's not about who you like and don't like. These are just three OGs who've been doing this shit forever. And Shannon Sharpe just left one of them and signed individual deals with each of the other two. That's a pretty damn nice chess move. He's rocking with Stephan A on First Take, which is the #1 sports show, and taking Club Shay Shay, an already popular podcast, and partnering that thing with Cowherd on The Volume. Being a big fish yourself and then partnering with two bigger fish, maybe not in terms of current internet popularity, which is fickle, I'm talking more their place within the industry. But making two moves like this after sitting next to the other big fish for however many years, I would say that's probably about as close to guaranteeing success that you could really get to. So yeah, I like the moves for Shannon, though I wasn't sure at first, but after thinking on it and looking at it, yeah, I actually kind of love it. If it was me, I feel like I probably would have wanted to make my own show and carry all the weight and deal with all the pressure, which can be a valuable approach, and it's kind of worked for me before, but I can still see the brilliance in these moves that Shannon's made. And he's just working 2 days a week on First Take, Mondays and Tuesdays, and then Club Shay Shay will obviously be flexible. Dude could feasibly add something else to the docket if he wants to, or he could just take that free time and do whatever he wants with it. But if he does fill up the schedule, I don't think it would burn him out or spread him too thin, because he's used to that type of schedule.
To see a great pro athlete commit to the process of the grind, and that's what this shit is. It is a grind.
It consumes your life. And I think what made it easy for me, Colin, it was because football consumed my life. And so now that I'm in this business, I devote my life to this business.
So NFL season is just a couple weeks away, and college football is kicking off this weekend. The new national media roster seem to almost be set. Who would you take in the first round of a sports media hot takes league? Anyway, some people say that competition breeds excellence, while other people say that it breeds mediocrity. Both ideas have merit, but which one will we see? While Skip and Stephan A compete directly, and Cowherd is kind of in his own lane. But the answer depends on whether or not each show continues to actually build upon its strengths. If First Take continues to lean into almost sports entertainment, and Undisputed leans into this more conversational style, best case scenario, we get two unique shows that both fall in between watchable and solid. But if they laser lock focus on each other and try to duplicate what the other is doing well, that's when you end up with the video game industry, where Call of Duty wants to be Fortnite and Battlefield wants to be Call of Duty, and instead of leaning into their own strengths, they just start copying each other. That's the type of competition that leads to mediocrity. That's the type of situation we absolutely don't want. If that happens, we probably end up with two soulless clones, chasing cheap numbers with hot takes and fabricated arguments. But at this moment, bro, multiple paths are available, and all we can do is sit back and see which way the wheel turns.